Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're excited to welcome you to our webinar, Why More MROs and Operators Are Choosing Veryon Tracking Plus. My name is Andy Schultz, and I'll be your host for today's session. Here at Veryon, we're committed to delivering cutting-edge solutions that empower aviation maintenance teams and operators to drive greater efficiency, ensure compliance, and maintain operational excellence. Today, we'll explore how Veryon Tracking Plus is delivering tangible value across the industry, from enhanced visibility and streamlined workflows to accelerated turnaround times and improved fleet reliability. So before we jump in, let me give you a quick overview of what you can expect from today's session. First, we'll take a look at the root causes of operational slowdowns, what's holding maintenance teams back, and where the most common bottlenecks lie. Then we'll dive into how Veryon Tracking Plus is uniquely designed to optimize performance across the entire aviation value chain. You'll also see how leading operators and MROs are applying this solution to streamline operations and drive stronger business outcomes. And we'll give you a preview of our product roadmap and highlight what's coming next. And finally, we'll share how we support our customers from onboarding through long-term success, followed by a live Q&A at the end. So please feel free to submit your questions at any point using the Q&A panel down at the bottom of the screen. And now I'm pleased to introduce our speaker and subject matter expert, Gary Jones, product manager for Veryon Tracking Plus. Gary brings deep industry expertise and a passion for helping maintenance teams operate at peak performance. And before we dive into today's content, he'll start by sharing a bit about his background and the unique perspective he brings to this conversation.
Okay, welcome everybody. As Andy said, I'm Gary Jones, product manager for Veryon Tracking Plus, just one of the products in the Veryon portfolio. Just some background on me. I started my career back in 1995 working in manufacturing and distribution, first in production planning and scheduling, and then moved into accounting, working my way up from an accounts assistant all the way up to controller before I made the leap into aviation in 2006. I started in aviation working for a Part 145 MRO facility called Raytheon Aircraft Services, part of Raytheon Aircraft Company, that later became Hawker Beechcraft Corporation and is now part of Textron. And then the entity I worked for became Marshall Aviation Services, part of a UK group called Marshall Aerospace and Defence. In 2015, I moved across into aviation software, working for Rusada, which is now part of Veryon. As a project manager, looking after implementations. I also did business consulting on finance and sales modules, and also other modules, base maintenance, component maintenance, inventory and logistics. In 2018, I jumped back over to being a customer, working for Aerocare Aviation Services Limited, again a Part 145 MRO facility, and I was finance and IT manager there. And in 2021, I rejoined Rusada at Veryon, working in product, first as a product owner, and then more recently I was promoted to product manager for Tracking Plus. So overall, I've been a customer or an employee of Veryon for the last 18 years. So I feel I'm in a unique position to understand customer pain points and obviously help resolve those for you.
Thanks, Gary. And before we explore how Veryon Tracking Plus drives value, it's important to look at the operational pain points that are continuing to challenge aviation teams. So despite advances in technology, many operators and MROs are still held back by disconnected systems, inefficient workflows, and resource constraints that impact both productivity and profitability. So to frame the conversation, Gary will walk us through some of the most common issues we're seeing across the industry and why we're addressing them and why that's more critical than ever.
Thanks, Andy. So first, manual processing and human errors. So without an ERP, customers are often relying on spreadsheets, emails, paper-based systems. This leads to data entry errors, miscommunication, and delays. There's lack of automation, tends to just slow down decision-making for the business. Poor maintenance management, difficulty tracking aircraft maintenance schedules, leading to unexpected breakdowns and costly delays, and a lack of real-time data on spare parts availability can also ground aircraft unnecessarily. Compliance risks and regulatory penalties. Aviation authorities around the world require detailed records, as we know, and without an ERP, audits and certifications become more time-consuming. Missing documentation or outdated records can lead to fines or even ground an aircraft. Inefficient inventory supply chain. So difficulty forecasting spare parts needs leads to stock shortages or stock outs and over purchasing of parts, tying up a company's working capital. Slow procurement processes can delay repairs and maintenance to aircraft and components. Financial inefficiencies, lack of real-time financial tracking results in budget overruns and mismanaged costs. Inaccurate sales invoicing can cause delays in payments, which can hurt company cash flow. And lack of data-driven decision-making. So without a centralized ERP system, management relies on outdated or incomplete data. Delayed reporting slows response times to operational issues that often need quick decisions.
Okay, well, let's take a minute to hear directly from you. We've just launched our first poll. What is currently slowing down your team the most? Whether it's system limitations, parts availability, documentation bottlenecks, or workforce challenges, your input helps us understand what matters most to teams like yours and how we can better support your success. So please take a minute to respond, then I'll hand it back to Gary, who will walk us through what Veryon Tracking Plus is and how it's purpose-built to solve these challenges in a unique and integrated way. So it looks like the results are coming in, and manual processing and human errors right along the top, followed closely by lack of data-driven decision making and poor maintenance management. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, as we'll address and speak to some of those here in the upcoming minutes.
Okay, so let's move on. So Veryon Tracking Plus, what is it? Well, it's a fully integrated aviation ERP product for aircraft fleet management, aircraft and component maintenance, repair and overhaul, inventory and procurement, flight operations, and other business support functions. And how does it work? Well, I've put together this relatively simple infographic. I'll just try and explain this to you. Get my laser pointer out so we can follow it around the screen. So we've got our flight operations module. So this is where you'd have your journey logs and things, and that all links in and integrates with our fleet management module, denoted by this purple aircraft icon. That breaks down into configuration management. So it's a map of the aircraft or a model tree of the aircraft, and we have fitment and location and position control. Maintenance programs, as you'd expect, maintenance planning, aircraft serviceability, tech logs and defects, structural damage, and reliability monitoring. We've got an integration point here between maintenance planning, or the due list, if you like, and work orders. We can look at what's become due. We can raise new work orders or add to existing if there are open work orders for the aircraft. The work order module integrates with our support functionality in employee management, finance and accounting, and quality and safety. And it also integrates with inventory and procurement here via vendor orders. So we raise requisitions on a work order. They go to the buyers. We raise orders. We receive the goods, and we book them into stock and then issue them. If we look over here, we've got purchase invoicing functionality as part of our finance and accounting module, and that links in with the goods receipts. And all of the operational transactions that happen within the business generate financial transactions, and I'll go into that in a little bit of detail later on in the demo. This integration between maintenance planning and work orders is bilateral, so once the work execution is done, then all of that compliance data can be fed directly back in straight onto the aircraft records. For the third-party MRO facilities that we've got, we do have commercial functionality. We've got contracts, quotations, sales orders, and of course, sales invoicing. So the work order is to execute the maintenance event on the aircraft or component, and the sales order that is linked to it is for all of the commercial activity to take place, whether it's contracting, quoting, or in the end. All of the financial transactions that we generate, whether that be nominal journals or general ledger journals, whichever you're used to calling them, sales invoices and purchase invoices, can all integrate with finance software using RESTful APIs available on our Swagger page, and give real-time, up-to-date information in the finance software that you might choose to use.
Okay, well, now that you've had a look at how the platform functions at a high level, let's go a level deeper. The next session focuses on how Veryon Tracking Plus is architected to support the complex needs of modern aviation operations, from seamless interoperability across departments to streamlined maintenance planning, execution, and reporting. Gary's going to walk you through how the system is built from the ground up to reduce administrative burden, eliminate data silos, and ensure real-time visibility, all while enabling compliance by design. Gary, back over to you.
Thanks, Andy. So first we'll look at workforce planning and scheduling. So this area optimizes labor allocation based on workload, technician skills, and certification requirements. It enables real-time visibility into workforce availability and allows shift planning as well. Regulatory compliance and certification management. So we track employee certifications, training, and license renewals, preventing non-compliant work assignments. Time tracking and payroll integration. So automated timekeeping ensures accurate tracking of work hours, maximizing labor utilization and efficiencies, and reducing payroll errors. How is Veryon Tracking Plus built for you? So integration with inventory and procurement. This connects labor resources with spare parts availability, preventing maintenance delays. It reduces unnecessary labor downtime caused by part shortages or stockouts. Cost control and budgeting. So we can track costs by project or work order, by aircraft or maintenance task. We track labor, parts, and outside service costs, and we help MROs and operators control expenses and improve profitability. And of course, mobile access and digital documentation. Technicians can access work order tasks, manuals, and reports digitally. This reduces paperwork and speeds up decision making in the business. So let's see how top teams are using Veryon Tracking Plus. I'll switch across to the database now. Okay, so I'm going to log out and log back in again, obviously because of my Wi-Fi issues. Okay, so I appreciate that we've got a mixture of existing customers and potential new ones on the call. So I'm going to do some basic navigation to start with. The screen when you log in is the home screen or the home dashboard. And I'll give you just a quick whistle-top tour of what this looks like. We've got 3 dashes. If you click on there, it will expose the menu structure. The menu structure is bespoke to the roles that's been assigned to the user. So you can see I'm logged in as Mike Planner in this demo piece of software. We've got administrator or USADA here, and I've got multiple roles assigned to my user account. If I switch to another one, what we will see is that the dashboard changes. So it's now blank. Now, what that means is that we have something called role-based dashboards. This is a feature of the product where you can have a bespoke dashboard applied to a role, and then any user that logs in with that role sees the same dashboard. It is useful if you've got multiple people on different shifts, on split shifts, or multiple people within stores is a good example where they're doing the same sort of job and they need to see the same workflows. And these dashboards allow the user to drive their day basically and manage their work day. Okay, so again, just going down this menu, you've got menu structure down the left. You'll see the icons down the bottom. This first one just shows you the server information, the database name, the version that it's at, the times at the UTC offset. Over here, you can switch between time zones. So I'm currently on local. I could switch to UTC or to the base. Obviously, if bases are around the world, you might want to be switching between those. This one here is master data. So I'm not going to click on this, but this will take you to master data tables, which are setup tables that are populated when we implement the software. And then, of course, on this one, we've got config options. I will click on this one and I'll show you these. So the config options, again, influence the way the software behaves. So Tracking Plus is a very flexible piece of software. Some software means that you have to do things in a very restricted way. There's no slightly different ways to do things to accommodate your processes. We have a lot of different configs in the different areas of the software that can be switched on or off. When we're implementing, you can see what it means if something's switched on or something's switched off. There's information in the software that tells you that. Okay. If you click on this icon, this logo, Veryon logo up here, from anywhere in the system, it takes you back to the dashboard in the home page. This little bar up here is called the One Search. What you can see is the word menu in here. So when you become more familiar with the software, if you want to use this to navigate around the software, you can do. If I want to look for work orders as an example, I start typing in there, similar to a Google search, it can preempt what you're looking for. And it's returned records based on what you've typed in there. So that's always useful. You can also search at a workflow or component level as well. You can see these here. And then this becomes a slightly different piece of functionality. If I click on to work orders, I will take you in here. Once you're in a list page or a workflow, as we call them, then you can search in here and it will filter the records. So let's say I wanted to see all of the PC12 work orders. I can type in there and it's limited the number of records that I can see here. We obviously do have filtering as well in lists, which I'll come to as we're looking around the software. We've got an internal messaging system. This can be used for alerts and things around the system. We do have email alerts as well that can switch on or off for various things. This is our recently visited. So based on this browser tab here, this would show you everywhere you've been in this current session. We have favorites options, which I've obviously set up a demo for. So I'm going to take you through all of these different screens. So I've added those into my favorites. But if I was a day-to-day worker using this piece of software, these would be the workflows that I go into regularly to do my job. We've got what's new. This is updated every time we do a major release with key bits of information. If you click on the see more details, those of you that are customers will know about this. We have a know-how site or a knowledge-based site, which when you click into here, it takes you into there and gives you more detail on the particular area that you've clicked into. When you become a customer, you get access to that know-how site and you can use that. It's help files for the software. And then here we've got our charms. So if we look in here, we've got 9 charms on here. So reports, these are grayed out because I'm not in a list page that has reports on it. Obviously, it would look darker if that was the case. Again, exports, we can export grid information from various workflows in the software into Excel format, PDF format, and so on. We've got audit history. Again, need to be in a record, but you can look at the audit history of a record from in there, different views, but it's always useful perhaps for financial audits or some IT audits perhaps. And then widgets. So widgets are these things on the dashboard. These allow you to see, to have a user-defined dashboard. We can have a role-based dashboard, and then if a user chooses to add additional widgets, only that user will see those. But again, these allow you to just manage your day. So if I was a planner and I'm looking for work orders that are at pre-planning stage, I can see I've got 24 in here that we need to plan, and so on and so forth. And there's lots and lots of widgets to choose from that are pre-programmed, and we've also got some custom widgets here that can be linked to filters from in whatever lists that you're working in for your day-to-day job. If I go back to here, so we've got a links icon here as well, which can take you with links to external sites. Notification history. So throughout the software, you'll see notifications popping up. Some will persist on the screen and some won't. If you miss a notification that does not persist, you can use the notification history and the most recent notifications will be shown at the top. So you can just see what it said, just in case you missed it. Dash admin. So this is where I can set role-based dashboards because I've got the relevant security to do so. So I could pick finance user or finance role, and I could set a suite of bespoke widgets in the dashboard. I can save that, and then anybody who logs on who is a finance user would see that dashboard. User rights, again, this is more when you're in a workflow. I'll just use work orders as an example. Go back into here. So again, if you're a database admin, you want to start setting user rights, you go into a workflow, click that icon, and then this will show you all of the user rights and which roles have access to do things in this particular workflow. And then we've got component details as well. So wherever you are in the software, you can see the workflow type, the workflow code, the component code that you're in as well, which is a tab to use plain English, and the component title. So in other words, the tab title. And then there's a link to, it's called Envision Know-How in here, but it will become Veryon Knowledge Base. You click into here and it will take you into that know-how site that I described earlier. Okay, so I'll go back into the home page, and then we'll get into the main crux of the demonstration. So as I've said, I've saved these in favorites. So we'll start with the aircraft status dashboard. So if you're an operator, this will show you your fleet of aircraft. It will show you what is serviceable, what is not. It allows you to drill into the records as well. You can filter these and set filters within the dashboard. So what we can see here, there's a number of saved filters here. The default was to just show everything. So I'm just going to filter into one, which I've had a look at for the demo. So you can see there's a number of different icons on the summary page. We can drill into here. This one's unserviceable. It's got open defects, deferred defects, overdue defects, transfer defects, and a number of other information that you can drill into on this particular aircraft. And if you want to take it a level deeper, you can do, and you can click into the actual aircraft and have a look at it. Down the left-hand side, we've got the header information for this particular aircraft. We've got details of scheduled maintenance, ADs, SBs, whether they're overdue. Obviously, the color coding denotes that. This is a demo software, so that's why they're all shown red. We've got another dashboard option here. So this is available for any user who has access to the aircraft workflow. And once the dashboard has been set up by somebody with appropriate security clearance to do that, then that dashboard will be available, and it will be the same for every aircraft. We can see the aircraft configuration in table view and in tree view. So this is the model tree. So this is an A320neo, and you can see all of the components, the locations and positions, go down to like a landing gig and then look at sub-assemblies, usual stuff there. We can look at operational status history. So when the aircraft was serviceable or unserviceable, aircraft logs, there are none in this case. You can see no records found. Cabin defect logs, structural items, maintenance task details, periodic group inspections, AD binder, associated publications list, and weight and balance report. What you'll notice around the software, when we've got a certain number of tabs that sort of extends off into them all, if you click on there, you'll see the additional tabs that we can't see. So just something to bear in mind when you're looking around the software. So we're now going to move into maintenance forecast. I'll run a standard forecast from today for the aircraft that I was just looking at. So I'm not going to select anything too complex here. So we'll just run the forecast. I'll give you a quick look at the forecast screen. This will take a minute or so to run. May take longer if my Wi-Fi is playing up, which it did earlier. Okay, it's been nice and quick. That's good. So what we can see here, we've got these planned items. So these are items on the due list that are planned into a work order. We can see the card, the task, the maintenance task that it's related to, and we can also see the work order and work order task that it's been planned onto. If we've got red items down at the bottom, obviously they're not planned, and it says not planned item. We could plan these to a work order. We can either add to existing or add to new. So we've got here allocate to a work order, that's a new one, and allocate to an existing work order, which I will do just to demo. I'll just do a view. So these are all work orders that are open for this aircraft. So I'll select this top one. I'll just do allocate to work order. So then we'll see the wheel showing that it's doing something in the background. And hopefully in seconds, it will return a message to say that it's been successfully added to the work order, and it will tell us how many tasks have been created. So you can see there, work order 1178 and 2 tasks have been created. So that was a message that didn't persist. This is just refreshing the maintenance forecast here, and we can see the 2 tasks that I've added to this work order created tasks 8 and 9. So you can click on this, it's a hyperlink, it will take you into the work order. So what we can see here is the work order that I've just added tasks to. If I click on the tasks tab or component, we can see tasks 8 and 9 have been added at the bottom. What you'll notice here, and this is a new functionality for 2501, is revision numbering for the work orders. It's currently at revision 3. In this database, the setup is such that when the work order is moved to an in-work status, it creates revision 0. Any time after that, the user can create a new revision. So you can access that via the More option that I showed earlier. We'll look at the revision history list, and then we've got actions up here to create a revision, which I'm going to do, and I'll just do tasks demo. Okay, and what we can see then, if I were to click on this, do compare revisions, I'll just move the floating button. So I'm going to compare revision 4, and I can choose which of the earlier revisions I want to compare it to. I'll do it to revision 0 and click the compare option here. Again, move this out of the way. What we can see is revision 0 had 3 new tasks added. I haven't changed anything on task 1 and 2. I updated some hours on task 3, and then I've added new tasks since revision 0. So I'll click on this one and go to the line action and do compare. And what we can see is we've got revision 4 down the left, revision 0 on the right-hand side, and the estimated hours have been changed from 1 to 5. In a future release, we will be color coding this screen as well, so you can see which items have changed, and it draws the eye in. For now, it's just a plain white background. Okay. So we can see how we can create a due list, and then we can add tasks to a work order and schedule those into a work order. We'll go into now work pack planning. So work pack planning is a graphical representation of your hangar, effectively, or your hangars. We can see in this one, in this base, HAJ, we've got hangar 16 and 3 bays in the hangar. We've got hangar 3 and 3 bays in that hangar, and then we've got an unallocated line here. We can see this work order down here is 1178, and we can also see on this one's actually started work, and it's got a percentage completion of 65. So I'm going to click on this one just for this, to demo this to you. When we click on there, it will show the parts information that's been issued. It will show tools. It will show outside services. There are none on this work order. And it will also show requirements for labour based on the trade. So we've got undefined, A&P, and CL, which I think is cleaner. If I click on here, it then gives you a list of the tasks that require that particular trade. We do have Gantt chart information as well. I won't click on that just in the interest of time. Go down a rabbit hole. But yeah, we do have a Gantt chart which works on task card groups, and it allows you to create a Gantt and plan the event to that sort of level. I'll draw the attention to this option as well. So this is called bay blocking. So we have an action in here called add a bay block. So if there is some maintenance required that means you cannot use the bay in the hangar, it might be if you've got a paint plant, you've got a spray booth, and it's going to have the extraction overhauled or something, then you might have to block the bay, or it could be like a roof repair, or just painting the floor in the aircraft, in the hangar. So you can apply bay blocks, and then it won't allow you to add any work orders into that bay whilst the bay block exists. Okay, so now we're going to move back into the work orders. Okay, so this is the work orders workflow. As you can see, it's automatically noted by the yellow color on the filter here, and it's filtered based on the webinar demo default filter. So I'm going to click into this 1178. What we can see, I'll take you through the tabs now. So we've got a status dashboard at a work order level as well. So this is really useful for keeping tabs on where the event's up to. We can look at material requisitions. Obviously, this is a demo, so there aren't any on this particular work order. We can look at routine versus non-routine. We've got man hours details as well. You can click on the details of these and see the information. We've got obviously target progress on the job and actual progress based on task closure, and closed tasks versus total tasks down the bottom, task alerts and man hours alerts. And this is configurable as well. So we can edit the dashboard, and we can look for widgets that are applicable to the work order dashboard. We can also help you with writing SQL scripts that will feed charts. So we've got chart widgets as well. So if you've got something that's a bit more bespoke to your operation, we can assist with that and get those up and running for you as part of the implementation. So let's move on to capacity planning. So capacity planning is important for Part 145 MROs in particular. You have to demonstrate to the authority that you've got the appropriate mix of permanent staff to contractor staff. And obviously you want to monitor your requirements, your required resources against what's available. So we can see here a chart that's based on shift codes. So we can look at availability or available manpower based on the shift codes assigned to those employees. And then we can see the requirements come from the estimated hours on the work order tasks based on the dates that they've been planned. So if we click on one of these, what it will do is it will give an extra level of detail down at the bottom. It starts with the pie chart view. Again, you can click on these and it gives you some information. So these are the required hours. It's telling me which work orders they are on. And if I click on here, this is the available. You can click on these and it will show you who it is that's available. We can switch to a list view as well. And again, we can drill into the hyperlinks and see the details. So this just gives you an overview of where you are and allows you to start managing your resources appropriately for the job. Okay, there are extra levels of detail, obviously, and we can cover that in a deeper dive demo at a later date if you wish. So we're now going to move on to Employee Planning Board. So the Employee Planning Board provides a graphical depiction of employee trades, planned attendance, up and coming qualification expirations for employees that have a shift code assigned and for any duration during the filtered date range across the top. So what you can see is here, this has been defaulted with a filter, so it populates automatically. It's running from March 1st through to the end of April. And all of these blocks of time, the D code here, comes from a shift code applied to the individual concerned. So we can see supposed to be in work on these dates. If they've booked holidays, they will also show in here. If they've booked off sick, that will also show in here. On the left-hand side here, next to the names, we've got expiring qualifications. You can click on that again. It will give you the information and allows you to go off and deal with those. If you're using our training functionality as part of the employee management module, then you can go and book them onto courses and things like that. You can also see when courses are scheduled against the employee. And then if something is red, then that's an expired qualification. Now, obviously, we want to try and minimize those or completely mitigate those so that we've got all of our staff current and that they can work on the aircraft appropriately. But it does allow you to see and obviously prevent issues when you're assigning somebody to a task if they're sort of out of currency with that particular certification. So we shall move on now to task assignment. So task assignment is a UI or a screen that would be used by a supervisor in the business. So what it allows, you can see the employees or my employees down the left-hand side. And then if I run a filter, I'll just filter for everything, but you can add lots and lots of different filtering options if you wish. I'm just going to filter for the demo based on what's there. So this is going to return me a list of tasks that are appropriate for these employees. So we can look at assigning tasks. It's as simple as you select the employee or employees. You then select the tasks that you want to assign. As you can see, I can assign tasks to multiple employees, or I can switch it to just one, and you just do it at the click of a button. Okay, so that's now assigned, so it disappears out the list. Okay, lots of other options were available, as you can see, but we'll move on into the demo because I want to show you the next steps. So once tasks are assigned, the technicians will use this view, which is the task execution screen. So this particular view is almost a mirror image of what is available in our app. The app is the tasks app, which I'll cover in the roadmap briefly, is being migrated from Xamarin to .NET MAUI. That's due out at the end of March. And what we can see is a list of tasks that have been assigned to me. So it's quite a long list, obviously, here. I'm just going to click into one. So first of all, we've got a summary. It shows you summary information. Each of the icons here means something, so you can hover over it, tells you what it means. There's documents attached and so on. If you're clocked on, you'll see a little ticking clock going on. In this case, I'm not. So I'm going to click into here, and it takes you into the next level of the task execution screen. So this is really important for your technicians on the floor. They can see the summary information that was on the list page, maybe a slightly more information there. Again, pertinent information is highlighted. We can see parts, tools, services, and documents details here. You'll see it's gray, so I'm looking at parts information. It gives me some actions to do with parts, so I can request a part or raise a requisition. I can return parts that have been issued that I don't need. I can also issue parts. Now that would be only applicable if your security that is applied in the database allows this for the technicians. Quite often, issuing of parts is restricted to the stores people and things like that. So, but if it's a smaller operation, then obviously the guys can do that directly here. Down the bottom, we've got a part status area. So the not ready items, give you a brief overview. So we can see 4 requisitions here. One line is on order, so there's a purchase order shown here, and 3 of these lines are at back order, which means that the procurement team haven't picked those up to go off and purchase those. So as an engineer, I can see, okay, it's not ready to work yet because of this or this reason. If things are on order, I might well then choose to contact my licensed engineer or the person who's running the check and ask them to expedite the parts or go and seek alternative work because I can't work this task because the parts aren't available yet. We can also see what are ready. So obviously, if you've got a bonded store, you might well go and your technician might go to the bonded store to collect the parts to continue with the job. So that the ready status there is important. So this is reserved in stock. So we'll briefly look at the reserve requisitions grid a little bit later on and show you how that works. And then we've got the closed items here. So this shows all of the parts that have been issued. On the tool side of things, it's very similar. We can record tool use if you just want simplified, recording of what tools have I used, or we can go full tool functionality. We can register requirements. The software allows us to manage calibrations of tools, etc. And then tool statuses, again, requirements. We can see, right, I need this tool, but it's not available at this base. So it would either be that we haven't got stock of it at all, in which case the procurement team would pick that up. They would go and loan the tool or maybe even buy a tool, or they could do an interbase transfer if you are a multi-base operation. We can look at tools that have been issued. In this case, this one's been returned as well. And then if an item hasn't been returned, it's in this red box here. Now, obviously, that's important for tool control. So before we're closing the task, obviously, we need to make sure they're all returned. There is validations in the software that will restrict you from closing tasks based on certain things being open. And obviously, tool control is very important. And then on services, obviously looks a lot simpler. We can request a service. These will be things like maybe an aircraft clean, non-destructive testing, things like that. We can look at requisitions. This isn't ready because it's not been ordered. I added this earlier, so it's just an ad hoc service for the demo, and the procurement team haven't picked that up yet. And then we've got documents. So it might be any documents that's applicable to undertaking the task. And you can click into those as well. So these are just a couple of receipts that one of the sales guys has added to this record. If we look down at the bottom section here, so this is our task card authoring functionality. So we've authored the task card here, and we've added those steps, whatever you want to call them, so that if you're going for digital work packs and you're not doing anything on the dirty fingerprint task cards, then you can do digital sign-offs here. So you can see sign-offs, multi-step sign-offs here and different steps in the card. So that's all configurable in the software. We've also got a number of different actions over on the right-hand side. We can start a time booking, which we'll do. So obviously that's now started. Turn that off. That's now changed to a stop button. So I can clearly see that I'm clocked onto this task. Got multiple actions that are available in the blue actions button. I can change the task status. I can add staging tasks. I can sign in a co-worker if you need 2 people on the task. I can perform a shift handover. So that's important because there is a mandatory requirement to accept the shift handover if you're part of the incoming shift. So let's say we got partway through the check on this particular task. I'm going to record what I've done so far, submit that as a shift handover, and the incoming person who's going to continue with the work on this particular task has to read that and accept it. We can do fitment and removals, core returns. We can log manual time bookings if you're not using the start-stop functionality. We can record rectification text. We can defer the defect, and we can unassign the task. That's an important one. If the task's been assigned to you and you just can't achieve it, or it's been assigned to you by mistake, then you can unassign that as well. We can also see NRCs that have been raised and raise new ones. We can add independent inspections. We can see the estimated hours on the task card, and we can look at the time booked so far. Obviously, there's a lot of time booked on this because we can close the task. We can look at additional task details that we can't see on the screen here. We can print it if we want to, and then we've got history and defect history in here as well. So that's the task execution screen. As I've said, the tasks app almost mirrors this functionality identically. The difference with the task app is that you can take it offline. You can sort of go in offline mode. Let's say the hangar has limited Wi-Fi connectivity or the Wi-Fi goes down, as it did for me in the webinar, then you can then continue to work that on a digital task card on the app. So the next thing we're going to look at is some of the procurement and the purchasing functionality. So I'm going to just jump into the part vendor receipt area. So what we saw from the task execution was that there was an item on there that was on order. So I've set a filter to show that item from the part vendor receipt. So this would physically be delivered into the store. The goods inwards personnel would pick that up. They would physically have the part in front of them and the paperwork associated with it. And then that would allow them to receive the part into stock. So what we can see here is the receiving screen. We would set a receipt status. So I'll briefly talk you through this. We have the functionality to reject an item on receipt. Let's say it was damaged or the paperwork didn't match or something. That's when we'd use that option. We can have a two-step receipt process where it goes first to inspection and then gets inspected separately, or we can just receive it directly into stock in a one-step, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to select this status here. These are user-defined, so you can call these what you want. ACGR is just what's in our demo database. We can see we've got one outstanding, and you can either type in one or you can use the to move the quantity up and down. If it required a certificate, this would be mandatory. These red triangles here denote mandatory fields. In this case, it's not. What it's doing here is it's defaulting the last known location for this particular part. We can switch to manual selection and place it, somewhere where we want, bespoke, or we can also use the range default location from the receipt range, which is denoted up here. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as the last known location and click Save and Close. So it's now saving the receipt in the background. It's also creating a financial journal entry for the goods received not invoiced provision. And shortly we'll get a message to say that do we want to print a label? In the real world, we would say yes. We would attach the label to the box or the bag. And in this case, I'm going to say no. It's then telling me that the receipt has been generated. Do you want to edit the receipt? In the real world, I would click yes to this, and I would scan the paperwork and attach the paperwork to the receipt so that it's in the software. In this case, I'm going to say no. Okay. I'll skip over backorder requisitions. So the backorder requisitions is just the list of requisitions that haven't yet been placed on a purchase order. So we'll skip over that in the interest of time. And I'll move on to reserved requisitions. So items that are in stock. Again, I've preset a filter, so the grid pre-filters. And what we can see here is this item that's been received. I think this was the item I've just received into stock, but this is the stores people issuing parts. So the technician on the floor would go to the hatch in the bonded store. They would take the tablet or the task card with them, and the issue process would be such that they would say, I need these parts to complete this task, and the stores person will go and get them, and then they would do issue multiple. Okay, so it's just giving me some notifications here, so I'm going to proceed to the issue, and I'm going to assign those to myself. Okay, so my planner, and I'm going to save and close. Obviously, I may well print a label in the real world. I'm not going for the demo. So what we can see is that it's now cleared the workflow because there are no parts to be issued based on the filtering that I've applied. And if I go back to task execution and click into this task, and then we should be able to see that we've got these items have been issued. It's moved up to 10 items here, and there's none ready anymore because I've now cleared the reserved list for this particular work order. Alternative there is that reserved requisitions list. We could have a widget on the dashboard of a stores person. Let's say we were operating a line side feed arrangement where parts are delivered to the aircraft. The widget on the home could be filtered, a filtered workflow that shows the amount of parts that are in stock for a particular aircraft event or work order. And then the guys can then go off and pick those and then issue them to the aircraft and deliver them to the bay. Okay, so I mentioned about real-time information going across to other systems or providing the management with real-time information. Obviously, these dashboards are lovely for doing that. If I was a director of maintenance, for example, I might well have multiple roles assigned to my user. I might have a quality and safety role, which when I click on it, it could show me all the quality and safety metrics for the business. It might be looking at open work orders in the hangar and the status of those, things like that. So I can switch between roles, or I could just have one dashboard that shows me everything on that dashboard. Okay. So finance information. The next workflow I'll take you into will be the nominal journals workflow. What we can see here are a number of different journals. Some I created prior to the webinar and some I've created just now. So we've got receipt journals. All our journals are prefixed, user-defined prefixes. So a GRN in this case is a receipt, a PC is an issue of a part, LB is labor booking, LBOV is our overhead bookings. So when we book time and we approve it, then it generates labor recovery journals. We've got the receipt. Have a look at the receipt for the items that I received earlier on the demo. It shows you the information, what was received, how many was received, and the entries on the financial side. So this, in this case, it's a debit to the stock account and a credit to our provisions account for the GRNI. So I'm not going to go too detailed into that. I'm not sure if we've got any finance people on the call. I'll switch back to the presentation now. Bear with me. Okay. Again, I just wanted to flash this up onto the screen. This is a full listing of the automated transactions that the software generates. So first of all, if we look on here, we've got purchase invoices. We have purchase invoice processing functionality. We do full three-way matching in the software. Once we've posted those purchase invoices, they then become available to be picked up by our API and integrated with finance software of your choosing. Similarly, for sales invoices, for anybody that's doing third-party maintenance of aircraft or components, or just raises ad hoc sales invoices, in fact, you can post those and integrate those with the finance software. And then based on different things taking place, so the receipt of a part, which is what I've shown you, it generates a GRNI accrual. And there's multiple other journals that the software generates when you're doing different things in the software. And we move costs through the stock account, through the WIP account, and then into cost of sales, and obviously recognize revenue. So that's applicable to your third-party MROs in the main for the revenue side. So I just wanted to put that on the screen for anybody that wanted to perhaps review the video at a later date with their finance people. Integration of information between systems. Again, just wanted to put it up on the screen so it's on video. We have supplier accounts, customer accounts, and associated addresses, nominal or general ledger accounts. We have analysis codes, which gives us an extra level of detail in the finances, exchange rates. All of that comes from the finance system into Tracking Plus. Exchange rates can obviously come from other areas, maybe banks, websites, and things like that. And then information that goes from Tracking Plus to the finance software would be the purchase journals, as they're called in the back end of the software, or purchase invoices, sales journals or sales invoices, and our nominal journals. And again, once they're all at posted status, then they would be available to be exported via our APIs. There is a huge amount of functionality available in Tracking Plus. This webinar has only scratched the surface, so please reach out for further demos should you require them.
Well, thanks, Gary. That was an excellent look into how the platform comes to life in real-world environments. And so at this point, we'd like to hear from you again before we move into the final portion of the webinar. We've just launched our poll. What would you most like to see a more detailed demo of, whether it's a look at the maintenance task management, maybe inventory workflows or those financial integrations, or any other functionality that you may be curious about, please let us know, as this helps shape future sessions to focus on and helps us ensure that what we're showing you is most valuable to you. And we definitely appreciate your input. We can give it a minute or two here and just let some folks go ahead and drop in those answers or submit to that poll. Pretty split down on the results side, but a lot of really good feedback. And I think from here we can go ahead and jump into the product roadmap.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Back over to me. Okay, so this is the Tracking Plus product roadmap. First thing to draw your attention to is it is a living document and it does change. We try to stick to it as closely as we possibly can, but there may well be some regulatory security or commercial conditions that mean we have to change the roadmap and move things around. The color coding on here, we've got black is a product release, mid-gray is what's planned and into a release and actively we're working on it. And then the lighter gray is product concept. For most of the items on this roadmap, we have recorded all of our requirements and we know exactly where we're going. It's just called product concept, just to clearly denote that it's not currently being worked upon. So I'll quickly pick out some pertinent items from the current release. So we've done a suite of camo and MRO reports. I think there's about 14 or 16 reports there now, standard reports. So we introduced a view layer into the database that the customers now can access. They can write their own reports that link to that view layer. We are building on that view layer all the time. And there's an item in Q2 within inventory and finance. We're looking at extending inventory and financial reporting, extending that view layer. We are doing work on data imports as well in Q2 and onwards to improve our data import tools, in particularly around fleet management. We have built-in work order hierarchy in 2501 release in Q1. So we can now link or parent-child relationships between work orders and component work orders. I demonstrated work order revisioning, which was, again, a new introduction for 2501. We've enhanced task authoring with a build release 2, which is specific to one of our customers over in Asia, but it does obviously give and enhance functionality to the task authoring, which is used in the digital task cards. We've introduced some commercial functionality for tiered cost markups. So this builds on our existing functionality for pricing in contracts. So this is basically if we've got parts that are different in costs and you want to construct your contracts to say, parts between $1 and $10,000 should be X% and above that should be a lower percentage, then you can now do that. We added some FTL rules for our GCAA customers using the flight operations software just to adhere to some regulations over there. Throughout 2024, we've been doing security hardening work on the database, and the last job to be done, removing CLR functions related to task authoring. So that was the last one to be done. We are currently doing regression testing on another version of 2501 that uses the .NET 8 framework from Microsoft. .NET 6, I think, is dropping out of or has dropped out of support now. So .NET 8 is the next one that we've upgraded to. That will be coming out towards the end of this month. Looking out into Q2, we're doing some additional work on Boeing task cards, so creating those via an HTML file import. We're also looking at FAA AD email subscription. So we've just, in the Q1 release, updated our EASA one. So we're now going to build the FAA one in Q2. Again, I've mentioned data import tools improvements. That's dotted around various modules. We're doing lots of enhancements around labor, particularly on non-productive time. So we're going to add some reporting for labor ratios to look at utilizations and things like that as well. Mentioned reports for inventory and finance. Obviously, that links into there as well. And then we are continuing with our finance and commercial focus to look at quoting. We're going to give more granular quoting ability and functionality in the quotes module. We're doing enhancements on the billing side as well. Looking out into the second half year, we've got further work order enhancements and routine enhancements to improve the user experience. We're going to enhance the work package reporting. So when we run a work package report at the end of a check, once it's closed, it will download all of the certifications for parts that have been installed and give you the ability to then email that across to a customer if you so wish. Looking out into 2026 onwards, I'll pull out some of the more things that we're going to be looking at. So we are going to be looking at using AI agents to enhance the planning functionality. So what I've shown you today in terms of work pack planning, capacity planning. So we'll be looking at how we can improve that. So we'll be taking comments on board from existing customers and potential customers as well to see what we can do. We're also going to be looking at the e-invoicing side. So using AI to help us with e-invoicing. So a number of tax jurisdictions around the world are now mandating e-invoicing. It's not mandated in the UK or the US. I think it's coming in Europe, Germany definitely, and over in the UAE. Definitely, I've been talking to customers just this week about that. So we are going to be building some functionality in the web product to help with the e-invoicing side. And then obviously continuing on the framework side with security, we will be introducing two-factor authentication into this software as well. So that's just a brief overview of the product roadmap. If you do want to have any further deep dives into this, quite happy to do that. Just reach out.
Well, thanks, Gary. As you've seen, our commitment to innovation doesn't end with product features. It extends to how we partner with our customers every step of the way. And our customer enablement model is designed to support high-performance teams from day one. We offer live, in-person, or remote onboarding led by aviation-savvy deployment experts to ensure rapid time to value. And once live, you'll have 24/7, 365 access to in-house maintenance experts who understand your operational realities. Additionally, customers benefit from our integrated knowledge center, as Gary mentioned. We have proactive success managers as well as access to consulting services for more complex transformation initiatives. And importantly, we're always listening. Your feedback directly informs our product roadmap, just as Gary showed and mentioned. We're always looking for customer feedback. Your feedback helps inform the roadmap and ensure that we're delivering greater value with every release. And so, before we wrap up, we'd just like to know what's the next logical step for you after today's session? Whether it's scheduling a more tailored demo, connecting with our team for a strategic consultation, or simply exploring how a Tracking Plus can integrate with your operation, we're here to help you move forward with confidence. So, please share any feedback you have with us there, and help us understand what we can do to help further your journey and help answer any additional questions you might have. And as you're answering that, we can go ahead and wrap up. Feel free to drop in any additional questions you may have in the Q&A panel. And I think we might have time for maybe just one question as we are butting up against the end of the webinar. So Gary, as folks are answering some of these questions, one of the questions that, or as folks are answering the poll, one of the questions that came in, we will be sharing the recording later of the webinar. So if you had to log off or anything, we will send that out following the webinar, so you'll have a chance to see that. And then one other question we had, Gary, specifically was around whether we have predefined user roles and what that might look like.
We do have, so in the gold database that we deploy to the environment, yes, we do have some predefined roles. Obviously, the roles and the security associated with them are based on how you operate today. So, we do have set sort of predefined ones that we can discuss with you, but obviously we help you tailor those to your business operation.
Excellent. Well, thank you. As I mentioned, I know we're running up against time, so if folks want to drop in any last questions, we will follow up directly with you following the conclusion of the webinar to ensure that any questions that you submitted or any additional questions you may have, that we do get them answered as quickly as possible. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. We really appreciate you joining and spending a little bit of time with us. And I hope the discussion gave you valuable insights into how Tracking Plus is transforming the way aviation teams operate. With smarter tools, streamlined workflows, and a support model that's truly built around your success. So if you'd like to continue the conversation, our team would be happy to connect with you one-on-one. And until then, thank you again, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future.